Hello world, this is Craig. The other day somebody made a comment on one of my videos that I was raising awareness and so the price of vintage items is just going crazy. Well, as much as I would like to think that my 600 or 700 followers, as much as I appreciate every one of them, I don't think that they're the reason that prices have gone crazy for vintage hardware. I think it has more to do with people being locked up and wanting to spend their money on something. But at any rate, there are occasionally things I see on eBay, and none of these are my things. So I'm not pushing these. I don't know any of these sellers from Adam. But there are things that I see on eBay. I just can't believe they have sat there for so long. I think they are really good buys, or they're at least worth considering. And I thought maybe every once in a while I would get on and point some of these things out. If I see them on eBay for a week or two, or months for some of these things, and nobody's buying them, I thought I'd maybe highlight them or say why I think that they are worth considering. So the first thing up is this 8010B single board computer. Now this is an Intel single board computer. I love the 8010B. Of all the 8080 single board computers, this is my favorite one. At $41, this is a steal, and that's, you can give a best offer that's less than that. The shipping, $20 for shipping. Now, the only caveat is if you look at this listing, and I'll put the number of these in the description so you can find them, but the number for this one is 184-88-815-4909. Now, the only reservation I have on this is if you look at the description for this, they say that the image is, just a stock image, and the board you get may not actually be that board. But if we look at the board, if this happens to be the actual board, it's fairly well populated. It has the 2 RAM chips that these came with. Then you can expand the RAM. There's been some little dinking around with the clock, with the crystal. They've got heat sinks on a couple of the chips. It looks like on the bus controller, and maybe, I'm not sure if that's the clock controller. I forget what's up there. It has a lot of the I/O driver chips, or those could be resistor packs. By the looks of them, they appear to be driver chips, but it doesn't matter. Anything that's in those red sockets doesn't matter. Those are just chips that configure the outputs. So this is a single board computer, 8080. It's well documented. Now, since this board has been dinked with, I'm not sure I would expect it to run right out of the gate. Well, obviously, it doesn't have any EPROMs on it, but other than that, it looks to be fairly well populated. It hasn't been poached. Now, that's, again, presuming that this is the board you actually get. Next on my list of things to consider looking at are these BUGBOOKs. Now, this is BUGBOOK 5 and 6. This is specifically for the 8080, and it gives you some, basic introduction to electronics and basic 8080 type of stuff. So if you're new to this, the BUGBOOKs have always been a great teaching source. They can be very educational. I learned a lot from the BUGBOOKs, and at $15 plus $7 in shipping, I think this is a very reasonable buy. So I would go out and I would really consider getting these BUGBOOKs if you didn't already have them. Here's another BUGBOOK. This is the one that I showed, I think, in an earlier video when we were looking at one of the address decoders. And, here's a BUGBOOK, $9, $5 shipping. Again, a lot of good information on the 8080 if you're interested in that particular processor. So, this isn't a typical eBay price. This is if you were to go off eBay and buy this from, A-Books or something like that, or any of the used resellers. So for eBay, this is a decent price. This listing is for an Intel iSBC series, and it's such a horrible job of listing, and you would expect PLC Center to do a better job of this. The way they have this listed, it's really hard to tell what's going on. Horrible picture. But I believe this is an iSBC 108A, which is the same as this card right here. This 108A is a combination memory and I/O expansion. So it gives you 32K of EPROM sockets. It gives you either 8K or 16K of RAM. So if it's a 108, it's 8K. If it's a 116A, it's 16K of RAM. It gives you 8 maskable interrupts. Gives you a RS-232 interface. And it gives you 48 I/O lines. So this is a perfect complement to the 8010B. It expands and pretty much doubles all of the capabilities you have on the 8010B. So if you're putting together a little Intel iSBC system. This 108A for $30 plus shipping is another good deal. If you're putting together an Intel iSBC system, multibus system, you are going to need a rack eventually. If you just want to do one card by itself, that's fine, but eventually you're going to need a rack. And here is a little rack, which they don't actually call it out. It really looks like it is a multibus rack. This is your standard multibus type of a interface. This is the P1 connector, and then you can see over on the other side the other connector doesn't have, or it's not installed. This having this edge to continue along the top, that's a standard multibus kind of thing. So they don't call this out, and I haven't seen this particular brand, but this really looks like a multibus backplane. If it is, for $30, that's a pretty good deal. Here's another 108A, same as this other one that we just looked at. It's $100, so it's 3 times more. Does come with schematics. It's not something I would consider, but it is something that I may send them an offer on if I were interested in having another one of these. Does have free shipping, so that's worth $15 or so. So $100, I wouldn't consider this, but if this got down into the $50 range, I would really consider getting one of these, even though I've already got a couple of 108s. Back to the STD system. If you're going to put together an STD system, you're going to want a power supply. Here's a Prolog. It's the M281 115, so this puts out 5 volts at quite a bit, like 10 amps, and then it'll put out just a little bit of plus or minus 12, like if you're hanging a serial port on this. It says it's for parts, plugged in, no light, a lot of reasons that could cause that. So it may require some work, but this is just going to be a linear power supply. There's nothing in there that you can't fix. And for $35 with free shipping, it's back in Michigan, I think I would consider this. To me, this looks like a Prolog STD bus knockoff. So maybe it's somebody that bought enough of these boards that they then got the design and they went ahead and they made their own design. But this looks a lot like a 16K or a 32K STD bus memory board. The numbers don't make sense for Prolog, so it's not a Prolog. I don't think there's not a photograph of markings on the back of the board, so we don't know the manufacturer of this. To me, the numbers aren't registering. For $50, this is out of line. But I think if you make an offer on this down in the $20 range, I think that is, free shipping. So for free shipping down in the $25 range, maybe this might be a deal. But it's a gamble because we don't know what this board is. I'm just guessing that this is a 32K, 16K EEPROM Prolog STD bus knockoff. So if somebody does buy this, it'd be interesting to find out what it really is when it arrives. Here's another rack. I'm almost positive is Multibus. It says it's a no-name card rack, so they're going to have a tough time selling a no-name card rack. But again, it has all the earmarks of being Multibus. So they do accept returns, so this might be worth looking at. SBC 604. Now wait a sec, that sounds like an Intel number actually. Let me look that up. Yeah, if I look at that, I keep maintaining a list of cards, and when I find an Intel number or something like that, and the SBC 604 says it's a modular card cage M. It says it's in the 81 catalog. So while this doesn't have the Intel markings on it that I can see, that SBC 604, that is an Intel number. So it's possible that this is a knockoff. $65 plus 20 in shipping. I'm not sure I would pay that much for it. I'd watch it, wait for it to get down to $50. But if somebody is knocking it off, they're knocking off the part number too. But that sure does look like the Intel backplane. This is a nice board. This is the iSBC 519. It's a I/O expansion board, programmable I/O expansion board. It has 3 8255s on it, and so that gives us a total of 72 programmable I/O ports or I/O bits. It has the same kind of configuration that the 8010B has, where you can put into these sockets either terminators or drivers. It has a onboard interval timer. So you can set an interval timer to say, 2 or 4 milliseconds or whatever you want, and it has a 8 maskable interrupt input. And so it can cause an interrupt in the system, so you can do, kind of a little bit of light multitasking with this. So these are really nice boards, and he has them listed at $45 a piece, but make an offer, and I think these are well worth the, making $25 offer for these boards, a $30 offer. These are a nice board to have and finish out a system. All right, well, these are just some of the boards that I have. I'm not necessarily interested in getting more, but I do think that these are good buys on eBay. The nice thing about these boards is they are all very well documented. There you can get schematics, you can get users manuals and everything for the 3 iSBC boards that I looked at today. All right, well, good luck on maybe getting some of these items, getting into the hobby, or expanding the boards that you've got. Alrighty, that's all. I appreciate your subscriptions, comments, and feedback. Talk with you later. Bye-bye.